Okay, we're live.
Okay. Yeah, let's bring in Alec maybe halfway through. Is that cool, Alec? You good with that?
That's cool.
All right, guys. See you a little bit later.
Rabbi Ezra, we're live.
All right.
Just letting you know.
Okay, so how was your night? How was your weekend?
Good. Why don't you welcome everyone to the Wildescast?
I thought this was the Cohen cast.
Okay, you can rename it if you'd like.
Yeah. Welcome everybody to the Wildescast. It is an honor and a pleasure to be guest hosting this amazing podcast, which has grown tremendously over the past. I believe you've been doing this for 6+ months at this point.
Yeah.
Weekly.
It's the official. It's the official MGE podcast. Everyone should just know that, despite the name.
Right. We are. I think during this time of COVID and the pandemic, for the past year, we were trying to figure out ways to connect to our audience. And Rabbi Wildes and I discussed that this would be a great tool and mechanism, podcasting. And we have the help of Scott Jones. We have the help of our amazing support team at MJE. And I think it's been a huge success the past 6 months. We've had amazing speakers, politicians, entrepreneurs, rabbis, figures connected to the land of Israel, the IDF, people involved in culture. And it's been really fun to see it evolve over the past half year. It's continued to grow. And I want to recommend everybody to get on Apple iTunes to join the Wildescast. Share it with your friends. And the old episodes are still up. So check it out, listen in, and really excited for today's podcast. This is a real unique opportunity. Behind the curtain of MJE, having an opportunity to speak to the founder and director. And I myself have been at MJE for 20 years, but before I give the official intro, I just want to know, we're thumbs up to begin, everybody? Do you usually wait 3 minutes, 4 minutes?
We just get right to it.
Scott Shapiro here.
Cannot start without Scott. Can you hear me? You can't hear me? Rabbi Ezra? Oh, okay. We need our good friend Scott. Scott Shapiro is here, but we need our friend Scott. Hold on. Let me see. Audio. I'm in.
I hear you. I hear you.
I don't hear Mark for some reason.
Mark, can you talk a little bit for me?
I'm speaking now. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
He's not coming through on mine for some reason.
Ezra, let's check your settings here.
My mic is on. My cam is on.
Me too.
Can you hear me, Ezra?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Oh, are you, Rabbi Wildes, are you muted?
I'm not muted. I mean, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, I hear you fine.
And it says that my speaker is on Logitech USB, and my mic and my speaker. I've got echo cancellation.
Ezra, what do your settings say?
Cam, mic, front camera, audio, iPad microphone.
Please stand by, everyone.
Automatic adjust mic, echo cancellation. I'm good. I hear you. I did hear Rabbi Wildes. And now for some reason it popped off.
I'm going to take Rabbi Wildes out of the stream and put him back in.
Okay.
All right.
What about now? Can you hear me now, Rabbi Ezra?
I hear you. I hear you fine.
So weird. I can't hear him.
I mean, you want me to take my headphones off? Would that be better?
I don't think so. I don't understand why.
No, I can't hear either of you guys.
You can't, Ezra. You can't hear me now.
Bizarre. Hold on. My mic.
Rabbi Wildes, you can hear me, right?
I hear you perfectly. I hear Ezra perfectly.
Before.
It's sad feeling unheard.
It is. It is. I mean,
right now it's just me and you,
right,
Scott. So Ezra's going to get back on. Okay.
Okay, Ezra. How about now?
Oh.
Okay. Let's take a look. Ezra, so could you? You can't hear me now either. Somebody said they can hear all of us.
Can't hear. I know. It's great that everyone hears everyone else, but I don't hear anybody. Scott, let me just try one other thing. You want me to try
It just shut
logging on
down?
to my phone?
My computer just shut down. Now it's going back on.
Okay. I will take you out of the stream.
Scott, I can try to log on through my phone.
Yeah, you could try that.
All right, Scott, I just got on through iPhone. I'm closing up my my iPad.
Okay.
Is Ezra on with you? Have you resolved the Ezra thing?
Yeah, Ezra's on with his phone. Ezra, how is that?
Much better. I'm good.
Oh, yeah, he's fine. He can find.
Are we good now?
Yep.
Scott, I can hear everybody. I'm on my phone now. It's good.
Yeah, you're good. We just got to get Rabbi Wilde back. I don't see you in the app yet.
I know, because I have no internet now. Now I have internet.
All right, we're gonna do this, guys.
This extended intro is preparing us for this great book on preparation.
That's right. Tell Scott to let him in. Any way we can jam install. We're doing it. Are we online? Everybody give us a thumbs up. Thank you so much. I'm no longer on my phone. You good?
Yep, here he is.
All right, we're all in.
Can you hear me though?
Yeah, now I'm good. I got you in my phone.
Okay. All right.
All right, can you guys all see me okay? Hear me okay?
Take two. Okay.
All right, welcome everybody to the Wildescast. Facebook Live, 12:15 on the button, on time. Excited to be here today, a guest host on the Wildescast. I believe we're about 6-7 months into this amazing initiative at MJE of putting out serious content, bringing in some amazing talent and personalities to be interviewed and to have conversations with our founder and director, Rabbi Mark Wildes. Definitely check it out. Apple iTunes, the podcast is called the Wildescast. You can download episodes that we've been doing over the past 6 months, share them with your friends. And today, without further ado, we have tossed over the host opportunity of the Wildescast to the COO of MJE, myself, Rabbi Ezra Cohen. And today's reason for hosting is because it's a very special day today. Today is the release of the second book written by Rabbi Mark Wildes, the 40-Day Challenge, Daily Jewish Insights. Let me get that book.
Do you actually have a copy?
Unplugged here? I do. I got an
Awesome.
early release copy.
That's very
The
exciting.
40-Day Challenge, Daily Jewish Insights to Prepare for the Jewish Holidays. Believe it or not, in just under 45 days, we will begin this challenge. We'll begin this time of prepping for the high holidays, which come early. And it's a fantastic book. The author is here with us, our founder and director at MJE. We are super excited to have a conversation about the content, about your inspiration, and kind of just about the process itself of what it is to write a book. So without further ado, I'll introduce myself real quick. And then, of course, our star for today's podcast, Rabbi Mark Wildes. For those who don't know me, Ezra Cohen, been working at MJE for my entire life, since 2002. It feels like just yesterday I began. I oversee the operations at MJE. We have, believe it or not, 900 to 1,000 programs at 3 of our sites, East, West, and downtown, from small learning groups to Shabbat dinners to socials. Check us out. It's really exciting now that we are reopening all in-person events safely. Come join us at any of our amazing programs throughout New York City. I previously was an educational director at Rutgers University. I worked at the Beth Din America, but those aren't important badges on my resume. Most important, I've been working at the Manhattan Jewish Experience side by side by Rabbi Mark Wildes. It's been a great honor and pleasure to work by your side, to see the growth of this organization, to see the amazing impact and inspiration it's had in people's lives, the literal hundreds of couples that have met and gotten married. And it's been a real honor, and it's very special to be here today, not only with my colleague, I still do consider you also a dear friend.
Which is not a simple thing when you're working so close with somebody, to actually stay friends and not just colleagues. That's true.
Yeah.
And by the way, can I just jump in? Because you don't have to give my whole bio and curriculum vitae and resume. You really don't need to do it. I'm going to say something, if it's okay, that I said at the dinner. I didn't dedicate this book to you, Ezra, but if it wasn't for Rabbi Ezra Cohen, there's no way in this universe that I could have spent the time preparing this. We'll talk a little about what the impetus was to write the book, but just practically to be able to keep MGE going during COVID, during a pandemic, to keep that minyan going every Shabbos, to keep classes going and daily Zoom sessions and Facebook Live every day. And I could actually spend a few hours a day writing this thing. That's only because of our dear friend, Rabbi Ezra Cohen. So I want to start off by saying thank you.
I appreciate that. Thank you. It means a lot. And I have to tell you that I did not do it alone. Your thank you goes to the entire team at MJE.
Yes, it does.
We have about just under 20 staff at MJE, of part-time and full-time employees, of people who are making sure that the lights just don't stay on. We don't just survive during the pandemic, but we thrive. And so with your thanks to me, I want to give a sincere thanks and appreciation for all of the amazing, talented MJE team, staff, and family. It's great to have all you guys here. Thanks for your amazing work.
Woo!
Whoa.
Awesome.
All right. So today we have 2 guests, but the first guest is Rabbi Mark Wildes, who might not need an intro, but I would like to give an intro.
Please.
Rabbi Wildes got his law degree at Cordoza Law School and master's in international law at Columbia University. He passed the bar. Believe it or not, he passed the bar. But rather than becoming a lawyer, did you tell me that you didn't pass the bar the first time?
Yeah, that's in my first book.
Okay. So we won't talk about that.
Chapter 4 in my first book talks about failing forward. And there's also a great YouTube on it where I talked about how I struggled to pass the bar while I was in rabbinical school and working in Soviet Jewry and doing a lot of other things. And there's a lot to be learned from my failures.
Okay. in your intro, I normally wouldn't talk about your failures, but since it
Well, you can
relates
mention it. Yeah.
to your,
You know.
it relates to your other book, and if it can push sales, then let's talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But rather than being a lawyer, Rabbi Wildes decided to dedicate and to found MJE in 1998 in memory and in honor of his mother, Ruth. Rabbi Wildes began in 1998, and he has literally taught hundreds and thousands of classes. He's taking dozens of groups, probably more than dozens, to Israel, and we're going to be going again on July 3rd if anyone's interested. He's hosted hundreds and thousands of Shabbat dinners. He's officiated hundreds of weddings. And like I said, we have probably 344 marriages to date that we are so proud of at MJE. He resides at MJE. That's his full-time residence. And then,
I live in this room right here. I raised my whole family in my office right here.
Right. And when he wants to spend a little time with his family, he goes down to the street to the Upper West Side, where he lives with his wife, Jill, co-founder at MJE, who's been an amazing teacher, mentor, and educator and friend to so many at MJE, as well, of course, his entire family. All of his children have been involved with working on some level at MJE and helping us out. Yosef most recently as a chazan and cantor. I know Ezra helped a little bit with the book, and your other children have helped for other aspects. So it's a real team effort at the Wildes residence. And if you're ever interested in Shabbat hospitality, delicious, amazing, inspiring Shabbat hospitality, the Wildes host every single Shabbos day. Come
And
to
we're
Minyan
back.
first.
And we're back. And we're back now. We're doing it every Shabbos.
We're doing it. So reach out to Rabbi Wildes, Facebook, Instagram, text. He'd love to host you. I love offering other people's hospitality.
Pleasure.
Yeah. And the only thing really that wasn't on your curriculum vitae was writing a book. And you did publish the book, I believe, about 4.5-5 years ago, Beyond the Instant. And it's an amazing book that all of our students have read and been inspired by. And it really spoke about the dangers of social media. If you're interested in the book, it's still on Amazon. We still have a bunch of copies over at MJE. Would highly recommend. It's a fantastic book taken from a lot of Rabbi Wildes' sermons and classes. But today, what we are focusing on is the 40-day challenge, which was put out by Kodesh Press. Daily Jewish Insights to Prepare for the High Holidays. It's a book that has been praised by Nissim Black, by Yuri Foreman, by Rabbi Ephraim Goldberg, Avital Goldschmidt, Nava Silton, and many of his guests who've appeared on this podcast are also big fans and supporters of this book. Joe Lieberman, Sarah Hurwitz, Dimitri Salita, Nissim Black, Kosher Dills, and so many others. We're going to introduce the founder of Kodesh Press, Alec Goldstein, when he comes on. But in the meantime, Rabbi Wildes, let's just jump right into it.
Mm-hmm.
What motivated you to write a book about the high holidays? That's only 10 days a year. Why write a book about something that just occurs just for a few days on the calendar?
That's an excellent question, Rabbi Ezra Cohen.
Thank you, Rabbi
My
Mark
dear friend and
Wildes.
colleague. High holidays, probably next to the Passover Seder, remains the most celebrated Jewish custom or ritual, whatever you want to call it, in American Jewish life. And I said to myself, like, how many Jews are really getting anything out of the high holidays or getting what they could get out of the high holidays? It's something we don't have to sort of reinvent the wheel. People are already going to Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur services, but are they getting enough out of it to keep them coming back? You see, at MGE, and as you know this, Rabbi Ezra, because you've been running your downtown MGE services for years, and you helped me on the West Side for years before that, and you worked at Rutgers, you know that that's the time of the year when Jews, our brothers and sisters, come out of the woodwork. So it's such an opportunity to engage people, but then, I don't want to see them in another year. I want to see them the next week. And the way to do that, I think, is to make the high holiday experience much more impactful and meaningful. And there's no way around that than being prepared. Because you can blame it, the chazan, maybe the singing wasn't so great, he didn't have such a good voice, he didn't pick the right tunes, maybe the rabbi's sermon was a little lame. But what are we personally doing to make the high holiday experience much more impactful and meaningful. And I think that preparation is everything. If you don't prepare, then what experience in your life is meaningful and is something you're going to want to come and do again, and not just wait another year again for it to happen? So I thought we create this 40-day kind of preparatory experience where people could read a little insight every day, so that when Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur hits, we're in a different place. We're more open and receptive to what the rabbi has to say, to the songs that we're going to be singing in synagogue. And then that way, the high holiday experience can really have its impact.
Mm-hmm.
That was the impetus behind it.
I 100% agree. You know, we always look at our numbers, right? How many attendees, right? So we get 550, 600 plus people at all three sites. And that's amazing that people are coming and attending. But the true, I would say, test of whether we're impacting and inspiring is whether they're there for Simchas Torah, whether they're there for the classes that begin in the fall. Because you're right, people will come to that once a year. You know, they know that it's the high holidays, but the question is, what are they going to do with it once they leave MJE? And it all starts, you're 100% right, with preparation.
Yeah, Rav Soloveitchik, who you and I and the rest of our staff, rabbinic staff, quote all the time, had a very famous line. He said that there can be no kedusha without hachana. There can be no sanctity and holiness without preparation. And again, I'll ask anyone who's listening to this right now, think about the most important moments of your life. We didn't just show up; we prepared. Whether it could be an engagement to somebody, or it could be a test. You were talking about the bar before. Nobody just shows up at the bar and hopefully it'll go well. So why are we just showing up on Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and we're just sort of expecting it to do its magic? And we often walk out disappointed. And I'm not saying this is going to just flip everything upside down. Everything's going to turn different overnight, but I think it can make a difference. I think the state of mind in which we enter our synagogues and our high holiday season will change if we've done some preparation. If we can read this book and we can take a little piece of Torah every day for 40 days, from Rosh Chodesh Elul all the way to Yom Kippur, answer the challenge question that follows. It's literally a 5-6 minute exercise per day, but I think it can make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100% agree. So now that we're like delving into the book, the 40-day challenge, let me just hold it up there again. Let me ask you, is there like a favorite chapter? Was there a certain lesson or teaching that you can say, this is something which like really, really speaks to me? I relate to it.
It's hard because they're 40, and I chose 40. By the way, you should just know I chose 40 out of about 65, because this came out of a WhatsApp group that I've been doing for the last 2 years. So I had two, and so I chose. But I'll tell you, day 4, which I entitled "Making Music with What Remains," I feel very akin to. If you want to open it up, it's on page 12, and it starts with a story about the great violinist Yitzhak Perlman, who, by the way, contracted polio at the age of 4 and had his entire life had to wear metal braces. He used to walk out on the stage playing with the New York Philharmonic, and there was this one incident when he came out on stage. He was tuning his violin right before he was about to play, and then one of the strings in the violin snapped.
Right.
Now, instead of what most people would do, which was, call out for someone to bring a new violin or a new string, he simply continued to play the whole concert that he had already started playing on 3 strings. A violin had normally 4 strings. And when he was finished, the crowd gave him this huge standing ovation, not only because the song was so great, but he played it on 3 strings, which is like, anyone who plays the violin will know. And when they asked him to speak about what happened, he famously answered. He said, "Our task is to make music with what remains." And it's such a powerful metaphor for life, because we feel so gypped. Because if I was a little better looking, and if only I had a little more money, and if only I gotten this break, and if only I passed the bar in the first time, it didn't have to take it another 2 more times, and if only. And that is really what Elul's about. You remember our friend Rabbi Eitan Meir from 1,000,000 years ago at the Jewish Center. He had this great teaching. Elul is the holiest month on the Jewish calendar. That's the month that this book is meant to be read during. And it's a preparatory month for the high holidays. And if you say, he said that if you spell the word Elul backwards, Aleph Lamed Vav Lamed. If you
Lule.
spell it backwards,
Lule.
very good. So what's Lule mean? It's weird.
Lule.
It's kind of a weird.
It is strange.
Lule.
If only. If
Yeah.
only.
Yeah. So if it actually technically means if no, but it really means if only things
no.
were not the way they were. And Rabbi Meir said that if, like, we kind of live that kind of existence all year long. If only this, if only that, if only if I was smarter, I'd be further along in my career. If only I had different parents, maybe I wouldn't have problems in my relationships. If only I was raised religious, it wouldn't be so hard for me to be observant, to be more committed to my traditions. The month of Elul comes along every year and says, dude, you've got it wrong. It's not if only. You've got exactly what you need. I know that a violin is supposed to have 4 strings. Yours has 3. Let's see what kind of beautiful music you can create with 3 strings. And I just think that's the theme of embracing our reality. And I always say this on the high holidays. We always pray for something new, and that's okay. We should always pray for something new. But one of the things I think we should pray for is not to change our reality, but to give us the strength to embrace our reality, to celebrate the lives as they are, and to find meaning and purpose in the situation in which I find myself currently. If we can do that, we can have such a great year, to be able to figure out how to grow from our current life situation and not only live this, when I get married, things will be great. When I get that job, then when you get married, you have the kid. Well, I have 1 kid. I need a 2nd kid. It never ends. When are we going to just live life as it is? And I struggle with this. Everything I write about in this book is a personal struggle because, Ezra, I'm always living the should. This program was good at MG, but it could have been if only. I do that. I'm just saying I struggle with that, on a personal level and professionally. I struggle with perfectionism and just it's never good enough. And I really believe it's one of the most profound and important teachings of the Torah to be grateful for what we have and to operate within that context.
Yeah, it's definitely a fine balance because we know that the whole time of the 40 days is all about growth. So you want to be aspirational. You want to have your eye on the prize. You want to always be asking yourself, where can I improve to get to a 2.0? But at the same time, you have to embrace your reality. So isn't there some sort of tension?
There is a tension because if you're right. I mean, I appreciate you responding this way because if you would just leave it the way I put it, you'd be like, okay, just status quo. I have to just make good with what I have. But what about growth? What about becoming the best version of yourself? So there has to be a little of both. And I would argue that in order to get to that next level, you have to appreciate what you have now. If you don't appreciate what you have now and you don't find the meaning and purpose in the 3 strings, you're never going to get that 4th string. You're never going to. You'll peter out because you're just so down on your current reality, and we're just living this if only kind of existence. But you're right; it has to be tempered and it has to be balanced with ambition. How focused New Yorkers are, Jew, non-Jew alike, on getting to that next level in their business, in their professional aspirations. We need to have the same thing, the same goal, and the same drive when it comes to ourselves spiritually, ethically, and morally. But recognizing that what we have is also good.
No, it's and I think that's why it's important, to surround yourself with community, where there's teachers and mentors and other people who are seekers, so they can kind of help you navigate this because it's not an easy view and paradigm to take in life, right? To be this aspirational self, but at the same time to embrace the reality and obviously be grateful for the blessings in your life. So let me ask you something about another chapter related to consistency, because I know that you love to speak about this idea of habits. I've heard you mention this a few times in your class, a few times in sermons, and you expressed that this is the key to success, consistency. What is it about this topic that you find so important and that it resounds so much with you?
I mean, I think the metaphor is working out. That the way to see change in a body we all know from is sticking to the same routine and just persevering and pushing through certain goals, but coming back to the same thing every day. You and I have discussed this this source, by the way, was not easy to find. It's found in the Ein Yaakov, which is a medieval Jewish composition, where they asked the rabbis, what is the most important verse in the Torah? This is one of your best speeches, Rabbi Ezra. I love listening to. Usually you share it on the ski retreat, sometimes in the spring. And of course, one rabbi said the Shema is the most important verse, and another rabbi said, love your neighbor. But the other verse is the most mundane verse in the Torah. It's actually in my Bar Mitzvah parsha in Pinchas. Esakeves echad taseh baboker. You shall offer one lamb in the morning, ve'esakeves hasheni taseh ben arbaim, and offer another lamb in the afternoon, which is like so boring. In the morning, in the temple, they would bring this animal as a sacrifice, and in the afternoon, in the temple, they'd bring this other animal as a sacrifice. And every day we pray shacharis, and every day we pray mincha, and then this evening services also. Now you can understand loving your neighbor and believing in God as central verses, phrases of the Bible, but bring the morning sacrifice and bring the afternoon. It's just so boring and mundane. But if you think about what makes great football players great, or any athlete, or any intellectual, or any person, is consistency. People think that those who are successful in life just became that way overnight. It's not true. People think that the Beatles were overnight success. I obsess about the Beatles. They were not an overnight success. John started the band with Paul in the late 50s. They were playing dingy little gigs in Liverpool and in Hamburg, Germany for hours and hours. They were fine-tuning. And Malcolm Gladwell, in one of his great books, writes that he's got the 10,000 hour rule, that anyone who's become really great at what they do, it's because they put at least 10,000 hours into crafting their skill. And athletes will tell you the best way to get into shape is to have a routine. And that's the same way we build spiritual muscle. And that's when it comes to our relationship with God and our friends and our spouses. If it's going to be meaningful, it needs to be consistent. And that's why we always share this with our students when people are coming from different backgrounds. They don't have much of a background in Judaism. Always say, pick one thing and do it consistently. Because if you take a little this and take a little that when you feel like it, and then you drop this, you go to something else, you're not going to get that wonderful feeling of accomplishment, that you've actually pushed through a new boundary. You've moved yourself into a new sphere. So belief in God through the Shema is critical. Loving your neighbor as yourself, but without daily and consistent activities that connect us to God and to our fellow human being, these are just going to remain lofty ideas. But they become part of who we are, and they help us become the best version of ourselves when we engage in them repeatedly, consistently.
So, and that's why MJE has programs every single day of the week. So you can engage consistently, right?
100%.
Monday nights, West Side, Tuesday nights, East Side, Wednesday nights, downtown. We still need to fill the Thursday, Sunday hole.
I know.
But 5 out of 7 is pretty consistent.
I think we're good.
You think we're good? So another question related to a chapter which you speak about arguing, having a difference of opinion. And you speak about not to focus on the person, but to focus on the idea. And we live in a time of cancel culture where people basically have character assassination and tell someone, if you hold this view, it means that you're an evil and bad person. What do you really speak about? And what's the Jewish viewpoint on this that you try to express in the 40-day challenge? And why specifically is it important before the high holidays?
Yeah, I appreciate you asking and bringing this up. I think this is a very dangerous trend. Canceling and personalizing our arguments with other people. I entitled this chapter, I called it Playing the Ball, Not the Person. Because I remember when I used to play basketball, my coach told me, keep your eye on the ball, not the guy. The ball is where you need to follow, not the person. So I use that as a little of an analogy that when you're having a conversation with someone that you vehemently disagree with on any moral, political, whatever issue, keep your eye on the ball, not the person, meaning stay focused on the issue. And what's happened in our society is that we are assigning ill will to other people with whom we disagree. We're We're identifying the person with their position, and they must be a bad person because they are adopting a certain position that I really detest. And by the way, I do detest other people's positions, but I try to detest the argument, not the person. And you know what? As you know this, you've been studying Talmud your whole life. You know that we would have no Talmudic tradition. We would not be able to arrive at the truth if you couldn't have two rabbis butting heads on some very important theological and Jewish legal issues. The way we arrive at truth is by two sages going at each other, not on the personal level, but scholarly wise, in terms of the argument. Who makes a better argument? That's what trumps at the end of the day. And that's why, it's a famous teaching, you're familiar with this as well, but maybe some of our students are not. Hillel and Shammai, two great legal adversaries in the Talmud. The rabbis never refer to them when they have a machloket, a debate, as machloket Shammai and Hillel. It's not a debate between Shammai and Hillel. It's a debate between Beit Shammai, the school of Shammai, and Beit Hillel, the school of Hillel, because they were academic, intellectual arguments. They were important arguments. But they actually married their children off to each other. They had personal relationships with each other. And I've seen this change in my own lifetime. I've seen this change where members of Congress were actually friends with each other on the right side and on the left side. And I had the opportunity to work for liberal Democrats who were great supporters of Israel. And I've worked for more right-wing Republicans when I was more politically involved. And nobody ever said anything like, why are you working for this one as opposed to, it was just like, you're trying to, you have your own perspective, whatever that is, and you argue it as best as you can, but people work together, and it's a very divisive world. We have to get back to arguing the issue and not the people. And I just think that's very, very important. And that's what ends up happening when you keep arguing with a person and not the issue. You can't handle them anymore. So you defriend them, you cancel them. And guess what? You surround yourself with people that you agree with, and you don't grow. Because you can't grow by simply, that's why we get married. We get married to be with someone who, exactly. You have to have a little tension or else you can't grow. You marry a yes person, it's not going to happen. On the other hand,
Hazer Conegdo.
Yeah, explain that. Not everyone may understand that. That's a really important teaching.
Right. So you marry someone who's a helpmate, but who's also against you and opposes you and tells you when you need to perhaps take a different stance or look at things from a different perspective, to call you out. A mirror almost to your actions and to your thoughts. But it's obviously done in a frame of love and respect. But this is really the only, I would say, way that a person is going to grow, is going to ultimately find the truth, is if they understand that their view is a part of the tapestry of emes and truth. And that sometimes they're looking at things from a subjective place. And it's important that you have an Ezer Kenegdo to tell you, you know what, let's look at it this way. I 100% believe that. My wife is a very wise woman, and she's reminded me of that probably daily, of the importance of understanding that, sometimes your way is not the best way or the only way, and to look at things from a different view.
And if you don't mind, I'm just going to jump in. I have another entry on day 14, which says, if you see something, say something, where I encourage not only spouses, but friends to point out when their friend has done something wrong. Nobody wants to do this. We just want to be fair-weathered friends. My mother, blessed memory, always used to say this: a good friend is someone who's with him during difficult times. And I would add, a good friend is someone who says something. Because if you keep quiet when your friend is doing something you think is bad and is destructive to your friend, what kind of friend are you? And now it's harder, and it's going to make the relationship more complex, but it's going to enrich it, because if the other person sees you truly care about them, and you pull them aside and you say it privately, dude, this is not good for you. I really think this is a mistake. And let me hear, and I will love you no matter what you do. I will always support you either way. But there is a verse in the Torah, to reprove one's neighbor. And by the way, the next verse says, love thy neighbor as yourself, because as you said beautifully, Ezra, if it's coming from a place of love, like a spouse, then you're going to be able to hear your friend. Because if you have someone who really has your back and loves you, and you like, I have certain people in my life. I was just talking to my son, and he actually shared with me something about the way I was handling something, and perfectionism issue again, and I really was able to listen to him because I know he loves me, and I know he's only sharing it because he's seeing an issue, and he wants to help me. So I think that's very, very important. It's not something that we're trained to do. We like to be non-confrontational. But then you got to really ask yourself, what's the nature of your relationship with your friend? If you're only there to have fun and pat them on the back when they do something great, but when they're doing something which is not good or destructive, you keep quiet. Okay. Anyway, that's
no. I was just a nice. If you look into the Hebrew letters of the word hocheach, tochiach, tochacha, at its root is koach, is strength. And you have to ask yourself, are you just trying to prove someone right from like a knowledge point, or are you trying actually to uplift and to give someone power and strength? And then the tochacha, the rebuke, is, I think, in the right, it's being given in the right way. You're looking out for a person's best interest to hopefully help them grow and get stronger. Before we bring on our book publisher, I just had two other quick questions.
Please.
We can talk about Tom Brady. I know you're not from Boston, but apparently he's your first reference in the introduction.
Yeah, and I'm pulling over his jersey.
Let me ask you something. Do you know what position Tom Brady plays?
I think he's a quarterback. He's a guy that throws the ball.
Yeah, you're correct. Okay. And how many points
I don't know. He won a lot.
Throw a touchdown.
Oh, well, it depends. Before the field goal, you get 6. I'm not as much of a moron as you think I am.
I didn't say that. So you're holding up the jersey. So what's about Tom Brady? What is it?
Look, Tom Brady is obviously a very successful football player. He's a little controversial because he took some drugs to enhance whatever it is, and I think the world has gotten over that. I think he admitted it. He apologized. That's another important issue. That
I thought he deflated balls. I didn't think.
Yeah, right. Yeah, not the drugs. I'm sorry. He did something a little unethical in terms of winning. And,
I think they took out some of the air against the New York Jets, the footballs. I don't think he was, but yeah, I totally get it. So let's continue what this is about Tom Brady and your book.
He was a big preparer. That's why I brought him in. He had already won 6 Super Bowls. Okay, the guy's like on top of the world. And the 2021 game, which I watched, he was sending scouting tips and films to his fellow players at all hours of the night. I mean, he was just like obsessively preparing. He followed this crazy diet, sleep, this workout routine. He was consistent. He never veered. There was one teammate that told reporters that Brady convinced him to wake up every morning to meet him at 5:30 in the morning, and that he once showed up at 6:30 and sarcastically Brady greeted him with the words "Good afternoon." Like, dude, where you been? It's already 6:30 in the morning. And although the last Super Bowl was held in his own hometown of Tampa Bay, in Tampa, he was able to stay home, but his family leave. And I'm not saying this is such a model, but his training was so intense that his family moved out for 2 weeks. So I love that idea. I was just using that as a way of, like, anything important in life requires preparation. Why would we go into the Jewish Super Bowl, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, without a little prep, without a little getting ourselves ready, putting ourselves into the right mindset, and allowing, therefore, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur in the high holiday season to do its magic? It can't do its magic if we just walk in blind. And we take a prayer book, we sit down, look at the what page, follow along, listen to the rabbi, listen to the cantor, and then move on. No, it's got to be more of a personal experience where we've done some prep, and then we sit down, and those words will resonate, I think, a lot more. So Tom Brady.
Excellent. So that's Tom Brady. I'm a big fan, and he is an excellent example of preparation, and so are you. You are constantly.
I over prepare. I
always tell everybody the legendary story of Rabbi Wildes. I was cleaning up around the 10th floor on an Erev Shabbos, and I walked into the White Room, and I heard Rabbi Wildes' voice as if he was giving a sermon. Now, Friday afternoon at 3 p.m., there's no one in the building. People are rushing to get ready for Shabbos, and I saw him standing at an empty lectern. He was in front of it, but it was an empty synagogue, and he was rehearsing his speech. And he said, the only way that I'm going to be able to get a finished product, which is going to give dignity and respect to the audience and the people that are coming, and the only way that I can impact them and inspire them is if I make sure that every word I say is perfectly stated, is if the cadence is perfectly stated, is if the entire speech has been gone over and over and over again, and I make sure that it is a masterpiece. Because otherwise, I'm getting up there for 15 minutes and it's a wasted opportunity. So you were always about preparation. And I remember seeing you there while I was running around putting up the signs, standing in front of the MJE lectern, in front of an empty synagogue, rehearsing your Shabbos speech that you were going to give the next day. And you would do it over and over again. And you'd work on the intro, and you'd work on the closing, and you'd work how fast or how slow, and you'd make sure that it was a certain amount of time so people could still get to Kiddush. But you took it so seriously. And that's why your sermons are so beautiful. And people come from all over the world and to hear them, because it is a work of art. But that's because of the preparation that you put in. So kol hakavod to you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ezra. And by the way, I got that. There's one story that really inspired me. Rabbi Soloveitchik, who we always quote, was once sitting in the Beit Midrash in the study hall, and MTA, where my boys went to high school, Yeshiva University's high school for boys, was filled. The Lampert Auditorium was filled. The chief rabbi of Israel was supposed to come. And the principal of MTA gets a phone call. He's not showing. Last minute, his plans got canceled. The auditorium is filled. There's probably, 350 high school students sitting there. And the principal of the high school told me this story. He runs into the Beit Midrash, sees Rabbi Soloveitchik sitting there with the Talmud, just learning himself, runs over and tells him what happened. He says, Rabbi, can you come in and speak to the high school boys? And Soloveitchik looks up from his Talmud and he says, but I didn't prepare. And the principal says, he's like chuckles. He says, that the high school kids. I'm sure Rabbi Soloveitchik, he says, I didn't prepare. And he wouldn't go in. He wouldn't go in. Prepared. Yeah. Wow. And if he did not feel comfortable doing that without preparing. So that's a really important lesson I took to heart.
So let me just get back just a couple of final questions about the book. So it says 40 days. Mm-hmm. And this obviously connects to the preparation time before Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Is this a book that people can keep on their shelves throughout the year, collect dust, or perhaps they can pull it off and do this challenge throughout the year?
Yeah, we were actually going to put a little label on it, if you remember that. That said, right. Because it's such a seasonal book here. It was written to be read for the 40 days leading up to high holidays. But the truth is, over 20 of the 40 messages are really not high holiday oriented per se. They're self-growth oriented. They're oriented towards becoming the best version of ourselves. Then as we get closer to Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, I start talking about shofar. I start talking about some of the rituals we perform on Yom Kippur, understanding them in a deeper way, the power to change, because Tshuva is the theme of the high holiday season, things that we do in Yom Kippur. But I really wrote this so that it could be used all year round. And the most important thing is for high holidays to have an all year round impact. Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur is not supposed to be a once a year thing until we revisit it the next year. Those themes and those ideas are supposed to resonate all year with us. We're supposed to turn back. One of the things I said, I tell the story about a teacher of mine who in high school demanded a lot from his students. And I one time was complaining to him and I was like, I can't do this. You need to move me to a lower class. And he pulled out this grade from his desk with my name on it and it said 100. It was a test. And I remember I somehow managed to finagle 100 on one of his exams. And then he said to me, Mark Wildes, you got 100. You're fine. You can do this. And then I realized he did that for every student. He managed to give 100 to every student. And I always say Yom Kippur is the time we always get 100. Yom Kippur is when we stretch ourselves. All day we're in synagogue praying and we're not eating. We're living like angels. And it's a reference point for the rest of the year. So we could look at Yom Kippur and go, look at the way I was on that day, how holy I was. I can do this. And that's what this book is. This book is the 40 days before Yom Kippur. But it's a reference that I can use all year to go back to that spiritual place.
No, that's what the high holidays are meant to be about, not to go to the high holidays, but have the high holidays go through you, right? So tell me about the book cover. I know there was a really cool book reveal with you doing a whole drum roll. There was a contest online.
We had a contest, and
So tell me
right
about
now,
the imagery.
the people who won the contest, by the way, are still at the Four Seasons in Antigua right now. They won the contest. So we went with this cover because it's got the 40 and it's got a guy climbing up the ladder. And that's really what it is. The 40 days leading from Rosh Chodesh Elul, the holiest month in the Jewish calendar, getting all the way to Yom Kippur are really getting ourselves up and up and up. And that's the goal of the book, is that every day with this new wisdom that we imbue ourselves with by reading just this one entry and doing the challenge question, we really want to try to get as many people from MG and beyond to sign up for the 40-day challenge. It's not about buying the book as much as it is doing the 40-day challenge, but you need to buy the book to do that. So please do that. It's very reasonably priced, but that's exactly why the ladder image we chose. That was your idea as well.
Just one last quick question before we get Alec on. Just as a writer, what was the most challenging aspect of this process? This is definitely, a dream and an aspiration for probably many people to author a book, to not just write a book, but to write something that people are going to be interested in and read and be impacted by. What was one of the most, or a couple of the most challenging things or difficult things throughout this process?
Well, in general, there's two things I would say, and then and one will lead us right into Alec, actually.
Mm-hmm.
One was just finding the time and just carving out. But I really love to write. I love sitting down and just writing up ideas that I've already shared. I think the other challenging part was taking something that was verbally shared and making it, putting it in written form. And I realized throughout this experience that those are two different ways of communicating with people. When you and I are talking right now, it's actually very different than actually writing it down. You can't just write it down. And I want to thank Alec, and it's a good segue to him maybe, because Alec was the one who called me up. Originally he said, let's do 100. And I'm like, are you crazy? Because I'm working on another book also. And I'm working on the podcast. And I'm working on MGE and fundraising and everything else and spending time with my students and yada, yada. So he was like, listen, let's take the 40 for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. He volunteered. I will commit them to writing. And then I'll send them to you and then you'll edit. And that's the process. And it took quite a while to do all 40. And we were choosing from about 60 different entries. But I want to thank Alec in advance. Maybe this is a good time to bring him in, because this would not have happened without Alec. Alec was the one that committed to actually taking a WhatsApp recording and typing it up into some kind of format that you could actually read. And then when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, that's an okay idea, but we could pepper it up with this. We started throwing another source. Maybe this story works well. And that's where you came in, Rabbi Ezra. I want to thank you for some of your insights, and my good friend, Rabbi Eli Krimsky, who gave us some additional material. And lastly, I want to really thank the person who inspired me to write this, and that was our teacher, Rabbi J.J. Schachter, who's a mentor and teacher to all of us, to Alec, to you, Rabbi Ezra. This was really, he was like, you got to do this, Mark. You have Alec to help you. You have your MG, you have some of your MG rabbis who can assist you and work with you on this. So I, kudos to Rabbi Schachter, my teacher and mentor, who helped me start MGE, for helping and encouraging me. He edited my whole first book. He did not edit this one. I didn't want to bother him again, but he was, again, the inspiration in writing this. So thank you.
But it's amazing. You really did this in record time. It's, you probably thought we're thinking about this, my guess is less than a year ago.
Oh, yeah, this was less. This was probably a 7-8 month project.
Wow, record time.
Yeah.
Amazing. We'd love to bring on Alec and to thank him. Shalom. Hey, Alec Goldstein.
How are you guys doing?
Good,
Welcome,
good.
Alec.
I love the book in the background. Excellent placement.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
Yeah.
Highly recommended.
I'd like to officially introduce Alec, who received his ordination from Yeshiva University, a school that we both went to. He also earned his undergraduate degree in French and literature.
This book is in English. It's
in English. We don't have an edition in French just yet. He was a cantor at Yorkville Synagogue, a rabbi at Mount Disco Hebrew Congregation. He's had articles published in the Jewish Press, the YU Commentator, Torah Musings. He's the author of a fantastic book called Theology of Holiness. and Maimonides on the book of Shemot, on Exodus. He's the founder of Kodesh Press, an amazing publishing company. He holds a master's in accountancy from Baruch College, and he has also been a teacher. This is your greatest accomplishment, and scholar in residence at MJE. Really,
Rav Ezra, there were 2 times. It was 2 or 3 years in a row where you called me up to cover for you at MJE downtown, which was a wonderful experience. But it was on Parshas Pinchas, and so I didn't realize. So first of all, I didn't know it was Rabbi Wilde's bar mitzvah parsha. I would have worked that into the sermon somehow. But I was convinced that okay, he's afraid to talk about Pinchas. He doesn't want it. It's too controversial. He needs somebody else to take the heat for that.
Oh wow!
So
that's funny.
Well, thanks for stepping in, dealing with the controversy and the difficult topics. But I know also that you live now in Teaneck with your wife and 2 daughters, and you're really someone who's at the forefront of Jewish education, making sure that content like Rabbi Wildes is getting out there. Just working with you the past few months, you have a level of expertise and mastery, professionalism, and a real personal touch that we are so grateful for at MJE. I was just telling Rabbi Wildes, this is record time to get this content out in such a beautiful way. And Yasher Koach, Alec, for your tremendous, amazing work with this publishing of this book. Thank you, Alex. Thank you.
My pleasure to really, truly an honor to be working with both of you and the whole MJE team. It's fantastic, wonderful experience.
Thank you. But specifically, since this is the Wildescast, tell us what it is about Rabbi Mark Wildes that excited you to work together with him on this book.
So I live in Teaneck. So Teaneck, thank God, is a vibrant, thriving Jewish community. But the rabbis there, they're completely dedicated to their congregations and their communities. But their communities are kind of they're already in place, and that itself is a beautiful thing. What I have just unbounded adulation for Rabbi Wildes is that he's creating. And he has created and continues to create this MJE community, kind of out of thin air, out of people that might not be so connected, or maybe they had a little bit of a day school education, but that they're, often post-college, and they're looking for their connection. They're looking for their way to connect back, to find their Judaism. And maybe they don't have a shul membership, a synagogue membership just yet, maybe, but they're looking, they're striving. And Rabbi Wildes is really, he's at the forefront. He's really at the vanguard of bringing, and not just Rabbi Wildes, the whole MJE, MJE team of finding those Jews that are looking for connection, looking for meaning, and really helping them bring them in and connect. And there are very few people, quite frankly, in the world that are doing that, and fewer that are doing that successfully. So that was really the most exciting aspect for me, was to really get, and I pinch hit for Rabbi Cohen a couple of times at MJE downtown, and did a little bit of one-on-one learning, but to really get more of an insight into what your team does and how that's impacting the Jewish community. You talked about the 344 marriages. That's incredible. That's incredible. This is what MJ is doing, is changing the Jewish world. And to be a small part of that was something that I just jumped at the chance at. Wow, thank you. That's so effusive and expressive of MJE and of Rabbi Wildes. And it's really symbiotic and organic. The fact that we had kind of known each other before this whole process started. Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, if I can just jump in, this, I'm in awe, Alec, actually, of how many books Kodesh Press has published, and how it was just a pleasant professional experience working with you. And when we didn't just work together business-wise, we actually learned. We were learning together because we were putting together these 40 entries. You were writing them up, sending them to me, and then we were tweaking them, and we got other rabbis involved, and
it was really a creative process that was as stressful as it felt sometimes. It also felt really, and it was, because we're all juggling a lot of things. Everybody here wears a lot of hats. But I'm a bit of in awe of how you pulled this thing off while you're publishing other books at the same time, and you got another job, and I'm running MGE and like, I don't know, you just made it happen. This is your work, man, and I have a lot of gratitude to you for doing that. I'll just mention one other thing, and you talk about what MGE does, and creating something out of thin air of a new community of new Jews that were not previously engaged Jewishly. This is what we need to be doing more of, because MGE can only hit the numbers of people that come through our doors or now go online. But the people now, this can be in stores, and people can I can just send this to someone who lives in another state or country, and now they can get a taste of the beauty of Torah and the beauty of Judaism and how the high holidays can really enrich their lives. That was not possible before. And I just want to really express thanks to you again for making this happen. I'm not an easy guy to work with. Ezra will tell you that. And you really pulled it off.
I never said that. You said that.
Don't thank me, thank my wife.
Right.
So, Alec, as we're closing up, I know we brought you on a little bit late. I just want to know are there like tips and tricks for writers and publishers out there? Because Rabbi Wildes, was able to do this in a short time with you. Should other people expect 7 months to be able to have a book published and the launch party that quick?
7 months is a fairly quick turnaround. So I think that's definitely on the shorter side. Some books, depending on the length, and the content, I'm going to make no promises. In this case, we kind of like set out beforehand that there was work responsibilities and tasks that we built out at very, very consistency, tying back to the theme before, and there was the consistency that was really able to get this done. In terms of tips for future authors, Thomas Edison has the line attributed to him, which I'm not sure if it made it into the book or not, that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. It's in the book.
It's in there. I think it's in the intro.
It is, okay. So, Rabbi Wildes looks for the page number, and I think that there are a lot of people that they've got great ideas. I myself, I was interested in the idea of holiness. So, I was interested in the idea of holiness, but then it actually took me 10 years to write that book. A lot of times, people, they want to write an idea, they jot that, they want to write about an idea, they jot some stuff down, and they think it's a book. And the creative process takes time. Even this, we turned it around so quickly, but that's because Rabbi Wildes had been working on the material for years and years and years, both in the podcast, both in the WhatsApp groups, and obviously his years of education and Torah study. So that's the thing. If we've got a great idea, that's great. That's the divine spark. That's God coming down, putting an idea in your head and being like, okay, great. This is what you are tasked with writing about, so to speak. But then the tips for writers is then kind of you have to do the legwork, do the grunt work, because that's really where that's really what makes the diamond shine. Is that extra is that extra work. And quite frankly, a lot of people can tell if you put in the time to polish it or you didn't. And that's that's going to be the key to getting a publisher to jump at it, or being like, okay, go polish it a little bit more. So really that level of legwork, and that really ties into what we've been talking about here, what you guys have been talking about consistency and trying to become the best version of yourself. So that's really what I would share for any potential authors out there. Sure.
And they can get in touch with you at kodeshpress.com.
Yeah, kodeshpress@gmail.com or through the website. Yeah.
And just tell us real quick, how long ago did Kodesh start?
We started June 5th, 2013. So we just passed our 8-year anniversary. We're not quite at MJE levels, and I don't think we've made any marriages, but
you don't know, maybe. And how many books have you guys published?
Almost 60.
How many?
Almost 60 in 8 years.
6-0.
Kol
6-0.
hakavod.
I did not know
That's
that. That's
amazing.
incredible, Alec.
Yeah. May you continue to go from strength to strength. You are shining a spotlight and allowing great teachers to put their thoughts to print. And, as we've said, to not just share it, with the immediate community, but really with the entire world. That's what a book does. So powerful. A book is so representative of what the Jewish people are about, right? Study. And you are at the forefront of making study possible for literally thousands and millions of Jews. So thank you, Alec, for all you do on behalf of the Jewish people. Thank you.
Thank you, Alec.
Thank you, Alec.
I'm humbled. Thank you.
Thank you, Alec. So
Thank you.
as we come up to our, it looks we've gone over a little bit of an hour. Is there any final thoughts either of you want to say before I give the last advertisement?
Buy the book.
Okay, that's
Buy
the
book.
advertisement. Well, I want to thank everybody for watching. Don't forget to get your copy of the book, The 40-Day Challenge. Beautiful little book. Daily Jewish Insights to Prepare for the High Holidays. It's available at www.kodeshpress.com, as well on Amazon. Next week's guest on the podcast will be an Israeli journalist who's spoken to all the prime ministers. Be sure not to miss that next week. But most importantly, stay tuned in all of MJE's emails. We got a lot of social media going out over the 40-day challenge. We have the book launch, which is going to be on August 2nd. It's going to be a beautiful night, but you can purchase your book early. You can start the 40-day challenge early, and just encourage you.
Rabbi Ezra, I just want to jump in.
share.
I just want to jump in for a second.
Sure.
Which is that we've got a few great offers through the website. So at kodeshpress.com, first of all, we've got a checklist so that you can literally mark off one by one. That's available with purchase of the book. So if you buy the book, we'll be emailing the checklist out to you, and then in the next few days, it'll be downloadable with purchase as we fix that. We seem to have lost Rabbi Cohen, and if you put in the code challenge for 40-day challenge, so just the word challenge, so that'll give you 10% off and free shipping, which is it's kind of hard to beat that. So you get those perks just checking out the site as you start your own endeavor, and as we all start our own endeavor of the 40-day challenge.
Awesome. Alec, thank you for everything.
Right.
And thank you, Rabbi Ezra. We seem to have lost him there, but we will see you guys next week's podcast and Wildescast, and it's great being a guest for a change. All right. Have a good one, everyone.
Thank you, Rabbi Wildes.
Okay, you too. Take care.